What is up, YouTube, and welcome to this The Last Duel Ending Explained in Spoiler Review. It seems the only buzz about this movie has been Ridley Scott saying that millennials are on their phones too much. Millennials are, probably like in their 40s now, and that it is a box office bomb. I mean, it did come out in the UK around Venom 2 and some other huge movies, and was reported to be coming to streaming about 45 days after its theatrical run. Now, aside from that, it's a very, very good movie with some of the best performances of the year. I don't think I've seen better performances other than June or probably Last Night in Soho. What hasn't been spoken about is the gorgeous sets, costumes, beautiful sweeping shots, and expert direction, as well as some of the best performances. While very, very long, it did not feel long, as the way the story is presented, the assault of Marguerite with its 3 different versions, was absolutely gripping, as we see the story told 3 different times, albeit it was different each time. Now, Scott's other movie, Kingdom of Heaven, which itself is a masterpiece, has its fingerprints all over this movie, with the gritty battles and a resolute sense of honour and duty. And, of course, it goes back to the 70s with the duelists that Ridley Scott has been very, very adamant in making these kinds of movies. The movie follows a rift between 2 friends after they fight in the 100 Years' War. Against the orders, Jon, played by Matt Damon, rushes to attack the English army during what is known as the Caroline War, which was part of the 100 Years' War. Fun fact, didn't exactly last 100 years. There's a funny little name there. Now, he does this against the advice of Legris, who's played by Adam Driver. And while Jon does save Legris's life, trouble does rift between them henceforth. They return home only for Jon not to be favoured by their new overlord, which was Count Pierre, played by Ben Affleck, who was just superb. And I think some of this possibly wasn't acting from him, while Legris rises in favour. They are very different people, with Jon being stoic and traditional, while Legris is a party boy but smart and clever, similar to Pierre. Now, Jon is broke while Legris starts to work for Pierre by setting his book straight and going and getting owed rent. For this, he is given the estate of Arnoux-le-Faucon. However, really, in Legris's chapter, he engineered it so that he would get this estate. However, this land was promised to Jon in a wedding dowry, which is basically a payment from the father of the bride as she is given away. Jon becomes enraged, feeling that it wasn't kind of the father of the bride's kind of land to give away, let alone Pierre's to give to Legris, and it becomes one of the biggest things in their falling out. Jon feels slighted that Legris has given this land, or he's got this land he was promised, but somewhere his bride loves. This goes from bad to worse when his father dies, who held a prominent garrison, and the captaincy of that is handed over to Legris instead of Jon, whose family has held that position for a long time. Now, absolutely incensed, Jon petitions to sue Pierre and Legris. However, this was a huge mistake, because not only does Pierre dislike Jon, but he is the king's cousin, and he makes an arse of himself, and the suing leads to him and his new bride to be an outcast at the court. It's even worse, as his wife's father was a traitor, someone who sided with the English, but was pardoned as Jon becomes now a pariah. With tensions rising, they decide to re-enter society and head to a celebration of a neighbour's child's birth, and Legris and Jon make friends. However, Marguerite and Legris get talking, and in his version, they become smitten with each other and flirting, but this was not repeated in the other 2 versions of the story, meaning it was more than likely made up in his head, but it might be a bit true, because there was a look when she did kiss him, but yes, it's probably all made up in his head. Now, Jon is sent to Scotland, and while not explained very well, he did need money, so he went in support of a kind of like a landed gentry to go on a campaign in Scotland to distract the English, awkward, by raiding the north of England with the Scottish army so that the French army have a reprieve. And the Scottish did leave them to be defeated, but he was made a knight. It seems despite a doomed campaign, he would gain favour except on the trip to report to his overlord. Well, he becomes enraged as he is not referred to by Sir by Le Gris, who is still simply a squire. It's an interesting one because even though he was a knight, he should have been very, very respected, but still he is slighted. Now, it is here that the reason for the duel starts, as while away getting his money from his campaign, Le Gris assaults Marguerite. Each three of these truths are slightly different, as Jon's truth shows that he is perpetually done wrong, but his emotions do him over, while Le Gris shows he had a strong connection with Marguerite, and in everything but her truth it shows it being a little ambiguous. But it's important to note that she never consented in any of these, and it was in her chapter that she was flat out saying no. After the assault, we see the truth come out, and Marguerite's chapter is entitled The Truth According to Marguerite, and the truth does linger on the screen, and Jon's and hers are pretty much the same. To me, this is where she is telling the truth, and Le Gris sees the truth as he presumed it to be consensual, but it was far from that, and the duel takes place in a bloody fight, which was just stunning to watch. Some of the fighting in the movie was not accurate. They were moving very, very fast in this, and it wasn't until the duel we see the armor knife, which gets in between the plate of armor and the swords and that. If you want to check out some historical accuracy on medieval armor, I would check out the Royal Armoury on YouTube, who have some fantastic documentaries on armor and weapons of this period. It is a fantastic channel. Now, later, Jon becomes a celebrity due to the events around the duel, and no more duels were allowed in France after this, and we learn Jon was killed in a crusade. Of course, this is a completely true story, but what's interesting is that the recounts of it are very mixed due to, everyone probably saying they heard about it. Marguerite never remarried, and it's clear she has had enough of being used as a pawn for men, and while Jon provided for her, he wasn't nice and saw her as property, and the less said about the Gris, the better. And it's clear her son was Jon's as he is blonde, and she's sitting under a tree in the field, similar to the estate that caused all of this. Overall, a absolutely fantastic movie that is now on Disney+. Maybe you saw it at the cinema. I would have preferred to have seen it at the cinema, but I really did enjoy it with some strong performances. But that is it for this video. Please drop a like down below. Do subscribe with notifications on, and I'll see you soon, and goodbye.